Okay, hi everyone. My name is Eniola and I'm here with Kaila. And this is Soul Family, where we're going to be talking about what it means to be a creative who loves the Lord. I love that you're following this calling that God has put on your heart and making a space for creatives that would otherwise be pushed to the side, right? Because the mainstream creative industry is not necessarily conducive to the way that God might want to use creatives. Or it could be so restrictive in a way that there's a specific way to be a Christian creative, that wanting to do something outside of that might be shunned or looked down upon or not given the proper support, right? Something that I love as a creative and with the current movement that I see is that there is a rise of Christians that are using the love of God in unconventional ways that are outside of the religious context that we know. Right?
Yes. Our generation is doing that. Really a generation that's willing to step outside of the box, step outside of the norm, step outside of what even our grandparents and parents would say is acceptable in religion. So I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So something that I really feel passionate about in anything I want is the power of the testimony. So you spoke about your moment before you fully fell into your walk with God in the way that you are right now. I also have had my moments, and I've spoken about that previously in my work, but I want to hear about your moment. What was it that you feel like God delivered you from, or that he led you through, that helped you step into this purpose that he has for you?
Yeah. I feel like, one, I've always been a all or nothing type of girl. Like I played sports or just being in relationship. It's like, if I'm going to be in this, academics, all these things, if I'm going to be in this, I'm going to give my full self to it. And I definitely feel like that was an attribute that the Lord gave me. But, you know, the giftings that he gives us, they're without repentance. And so I wasn't really walking in that to glorify him. For a lot of my life, I grew up in the church, and I grew up in a household where my parents were restrictive. And so I went to college. I went to UGA, which is like this big party school, and I was free. So I immersed myself. You can relate.
I can relate.
So I immersed myself in that culture where it's like, yeah, I'm still an all or nothing person, so I'm gonna get straight A's. But come Friday, come Saturday, we're out there. I'm gonna go to church on Sunday, but I'm partying, I'm smoking weed, I'm living with my boyfriend, and we're doing all the things that married people are supposed to be doing, but not married, right? And so I ended up getting pregnant in college, actually a couple times. But we terminated the first one because it was just like, we can't do this. But the Lord met me in that abortion. And got pregnant a second time. And I was like, okay, I already told you I can't do that again. So let me bring this to you, God. I went to church. Immediately, the message, it was like January, but they're talking about Hannah and her pouring out her spirit to the Lord. And he's like, by this time next year, you'll have a son. And I was like, whoa, wow. Why would they be talking about that right now?
Yeah.
But that could only been God.
I want to backtrack. When you said the first time God met you in that, would you be willing to elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yes. So I was early enough to where I was able to have the pill, like do a medical abortion rather than like a surgical. So I did a pill, and it happened at my house or my apartment at the time in college. And for some reason, at one point I looked in the toilet like after I was passing the child, and I saw it. I saw what I just extracted, what I just killed. And that was like a point where I really like fell on my knees in my room after that. I was like, God, like, I'm sorry. I was irresponsible. I did all the things to get me here, but I don't like the result. And so I was like, I can't do that again. Then I get pregnant probably about a year later.
And you felt in that moment how God met you. You felt what?
Sorrow, remorse, like truly a heart of repentance.
But from God.
Yes.
What did you feel from God?
Oh.
That helped you feel that, oh wow,
that
like he's here.
I think it was the overwhelming of emotions and conviction. Because my flesh wouldn't convict me. My flesh was saying, you can't have this child.
Yeah.
But the Lord was like, no, like that was a life. Like I saw it. And it's like that mental picture can never escape my mind. But having the compassion toward that life is something that changes everything.
Yeah.
Like people, you can kill something, but you actually saw it. Or it's like a lot of instances people heard the heartbeat, where you recognize that was a living thing that could have been someone and something, but I took matters into my own hands.
And the reason why I asked that question is because that word that you use, conviction, right? I think it's very important, and I want to lean into it, right? Because conviction is not the same as condemnation.
For sure.
And to be with God in that moment, to have noticed that, yes, he gave you that heart of sorrow, of repentance, but he gave you the heart of conviction and not condemnation. And conviction pulls us closer to God. It helps us see his heart and see his soul. It doesn't cause us to feel condemned and run away from God, right? And I feel like this conversation, and I love it. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to share it. It's a hard conversation to have, because oftentimes a lot of women, I'm sure, feel shame by the world, right? The world will be like, how dare you do that? But I feel like the proper way for us as Christians to show up for people who go through this and for whatever reason they meet God and they feel that conviction is to not then turn around and be a voice of condemnation, but rather to say, whatever you've done, just as God has said, this is the past, forget the past, look forward, look at the new thing I'm creating. And God, to me, it sounds like he met you in that second pregnancy and he said, that was then, this is now. Anything that must be fulfilled through you, through your line, I can still do from this moment moving forward. So I'm so happy that you came to that moment where God was able to turn your story around and you saw his hand in your life. And now you have a beautiful child as a result of that. And you're walking in your purpose. But I'm jumping the gun.
No,
but
there's freedom. There's so much freedom. And even sharing it now, I don't feel shame.
Yeah.
Because God isn't shaming me.
No,
he's not condemning me. I'm free. I like you said, this blessed me in a way. He used it as a tool to push me into new things. So.
And now it's your testimony. And we are liberated by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony.
Yes.
And I pray that this testimony touches whoever is meant to hear it out there, no matter what you've been through, what you've experienced. God can always turn your circumstances around.
Always.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying today's episode so far. A lot of work, love, and energy was poured into it. To learn more about Anything I Want, be sure to check out our website, which is at www.anythingiwant.com. There, you'll find unique wellness and faith-based creative resources to help you on your path with the Lord.